I'm Emefa Akosiadeti, and this is a News Desk. Welcome, good morning. Now, coming up, Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo files lawsuit at the court just hours after the Supreme Court dismissed a similar case seeking to halt a probe for hair removal. We'll bring you more on that controversy. And I saw this morning, just 24 hours later, after the decongestion exercise by the AMS quarters at an airplane bus stop return, would go live to the place and bring you more as well. Now, a little later in the bulletin, authorities have started pruning weak and overgrown branches along the Atomic Kwabinya Road, with several mahogany and other fragile trees marked for removal. We have more on that. We've got these plus business updates on our desk. Please stay for details. Thank you for staying with us this morning. Let's start with Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo's controversy, which has revolved around her suspension and a petition seeking her removal from office following yesterday's dismissal of the interlocutory injunction to halt the 5-member committee's investigation into petitions against her. The Chief Justice herself has taken a bold step, filing a lawsuit at the Supreme Court to truncate that process. So, the Supreme Court has dismissed 2 cases challenging the constitutionality of the committee's investigation, paving the way for the probe to continue. Let's speak to the Chief Executive of the Center for Citizenship, Constitutional and Electoral Systems, Kabinat Bonfair, one of the 2 plaintiffs in court to challenge the process. But before that, let's bring you the process so far. On your screen is Chief Justice removal process. So what we know is that at least 5 suits have been filed challenging the constitutionality of the process so far, particularly 146 in the 1992 Constitution. Now, just yesterday, as we've been telling you, the suspended Chief Justice herself is heading to court. And the defendants in this lawsuit will be the Attorney General, Justice Porman, Justice Adibu Asedu, Daniel Domilevo, Major Flora Delugu, Professor James Gisa as well. And here are some of the reliefs. So what we have done is we've slashed in the entire reliefs amounted to about 16, but we've slashed it to 5 because most of the others are quite similar, which we have seen in court already. We'll bring you the 5 that we've extracted out of the 16 reliefs, and then bring you first. Chief Justice has the right to a public hearing in removal proceedings, and that she may waive in-camera privilege. And as well, the second one which we've extracted is the prima facie determination was improper and is therefore null, void, and unconstitutional. And as well, she is seeking a declaration or the suspension is an infringement on judicial independence as well. The fourth one is an order to nullify the presidential suspension warrant. So currently she's on suspension and she wants the court to nullify that. That will be reinstating her as well. Now, finally, a declaration that Justice Porman and Adibu Asedu are ineligible to serve on the investigative committee. And then what we know about this is that Justice Porman, she believes, had ruled in favor of one of the petitioners, and then the other as well, Justice Adibu also sat on one of the interlocutory injunctions that were sought in court. But we're joined by a constitutional law lecturer and head of public law at the UPSA, Albert Koshiga. Now, thank you for joining us. Are you surprised that the Chief Justice herself is in court?
Hello, yes, good afternoon to you, MFR, and good afternoon to your listeners. If you ask me if I am surprised that CJ herself is in court, my immediate reaction is to say, yes, I am surprised because previous suits have been brought by other people seeking the same or similar reliefs. And so I am surprised that she's brought an action by herself, but you see, as an individual, she has certain rights she likes to exercise. And so on that score, I think it is in order. But right. there are serious concerns about possible abuse of court process and amongst others. So we'll get into that a bit later.
Out of the nearly 16 reliefs that she's seeking, we also recognize that some have already been discussed in court already, but a few of them may be new, especially the one that is in Article 146 that says that she can, that hearing, especially when it's a justice, should be in camera. She says that she wants that right waived and wants it to be public hearing. What do you say?
Right. So, before I even say that, let me clarify something, okay? Now, we are aware that a number of suits have been filed in connection with the process to remove the Chief Justice. And some have been brought by a member of parliament, another by an NGO. Now, you would observe that for all those writs that were issued in the Supreme Court, they came with an application for injunction. So the injunction applications, I believe, have been determined to a large extent, but the substantive issues are still there in the courts. And I believe the courts will go into those substantive issues with time. All right? And you'd also observe that the current writ that has been issued came with an injunction. At least I saw an injunction circulating on social media. So there's a writ and an application for another injunction application. All right? So I am a bit surprised. And this is where I'm concerned about the possible abuse of the court process. Because for all we can see, the parties are looking for an opportunity to halt the constitutional process. And that's the essence of the injunctions that they have been bringing. And I think a number of them have been dismissed already. And we now see one in the name of the Chief Justice itself with another application for injunction to stop the process and certain individuals from being on the panel amongst others. And so it's a bit concerning. I mean, one of the new reliefs that I have seen is the one about Article 146(8), for instance.
Yes.
And if you look at the Constitution, it tells you that all the proceedings involving the removal of the Chief Justice and other Superior Court justices must be in camera. And I have to say that the Constitution says that in mandatory terms, that the proceedings shall be in camera. And if you look closely, there are no exceptions granted over there. Okay? So, I mean, it's a bit difficult to appreciate the new suit claiming that there is an option to waive that in-camera hearing, but we'll wait to see how it goes.
Well, have we not had any cases where the terminology shall, which is supposed to be mandatory in the Constitution, being taken to court for interpretation? Have we not had any cases of the sort?
Well, we may have had cases in the past, but I mean, in this particular context, I mean, what you're looking at is that, you see, we have to look at this provision in a certain sense. This is not a private right given to the Chief Justice.
Right.
It is not a privilege given to the Chief Justice alone. It is a general principle stated for the process for the removal of justices of the Superior Court. So it's not only for the Chief Justice. And if you go back, there have been processes for the removal of Chief Justices. There have been processes for the removal of Superior Court justices in the past. In the recent past, we saw that happening when Anas's expose came and all that. Those justices, right, had in-camera hearing, and there was not a call for public hearing in this matter. So as you can see, it is not only for a privilege for the Chief Justice, it's a privilege for all Superior Court justices. And so for this whole period, there hasn't been that call for public hearing. Why this particular one, which involves a Chief Justice, is also a Superior Court judge. I think that we have to see what the Supreme Court does is to give interpretation to provisions when there's ambiguity or there's some vagueness. Now, you have to look at the provision clearly and see whether within all the provisions of the Constitution, for instance, there is the need, for instance, to invoke the Supreme Court jurisdiction to place interpretation or to choose one interpretation over the other. From what we see and where I see, I mean, this provision is quite straightforward. And so if you go to court and you are seeking interpretation and enforcement, I mean, you have to ask yourself whether, first of all, there's a cause of action in this matter in the first place.
Yeah.
And my honest view on this matter is to say that I think Article 146 Clause 8 is clear enough, and I do not think it is open to the Chief Justice to want to waive that. You see, we have to be careful. If provisions of the Constitution are this clear, and we begin to invite the Supreme Court to make interpretation, what we are asking is to ask the Supreme Court to not be writing our constitution for us. But that's not what it is.
Please, Mr. Kashiga, please stay with me.
The framers have written a constitution, and if there's need for interpretation, you go for it. But if there's no need, you don't go to court to invoke the court's jurisdiction.
Please stay with me as I have the Chief Executive of the Center for Citizenship, Constitutional and Electoral Systems, Mr. Kwabena Bonfair. Thank you for joining us this morning. And so yesterday, you were in court, and for clarity, it would be for an interlocutory injunction. You're seeking that the committee that the president has set up to investigate this matter be halt, whilst the substantive one that you're seeking, which is still in court, that the entire process is unconstitutional. Is this correct?
Well, you have said so many things. I have listened to you. I think that we are clear in our minds what we are in court for. Our case on its merit cannot be the same as any other case. Otherwise, that would be abuse of process. We are not abusing process, and the court didn't say that we are abusing process. And so I don't want the specific case of census to be seen as the same as some other cases. That's the first point I want to make. Second, the matter that we have sent before the Supreme Court is about the exercise of the limited power the President is given in Article 1466 to go into the independence of the judiciary and handle a matter on the basis of incompetence, and incompetence must be tied to the functions of the office of the Chief Justice. Then we talk about stated misbehavior. And then the third one is a medically proven condition. There are three. We are saying that limited entry by the president or the executive in the judiciary, which is enshrined, the independence of the judiciary is enshrined and grounded in Article 125. We are saying that in exercising that limited responsibility, the way it's been done, there are questions that we want the Supreme Court to interpret, and there are issues that border on enforcement. And the interlocutory injunction was that because the outcome of that, the decision in that matter would be consequential on the performance or the existence and the performance of proceedings in the committee should be halted until our case is determined. The Supreme Court says no, by majority decision of 4-1, that let us go on and hear your case while the committee is also doing its work. I'm sure they did that because they didn't have to say it. When the Supreme Court takes a decision in Article 2(1), 2, 3, and 4, it is binding on anybody. So it is to that extent that they said, okay, you let us hear your matter while the committee is also doing its work. Whatever they do, when we have determined your case, it will be binding on everybody. So that is that. And I don't like this idea of wanting to bundle cases that are separate on their own as together. They're seeking to create the impression that they are seeking to advance the same cause. Census exists to see to constitutional and electoral development in Ghana. We seek to be a platform where Ghanaians would advocate and champion to engage the development of the law. And that's exactly what we are doing.
Will anybody be wrong if they saw the reliefs that the Chief Justice is seeking? One of them says that the process in itself is unconstitutional, which you have said that a substantive issue in the Supreme Court as well. By the time you would have seen the requirement to remove a Chief Justice, if it is questionable, would also be unconstitutional. What would that be? What's the difference with that? What's the very difference with that?
If what you have just read, if you don't see any difference in that, I see a world of difference. But granted that there is even no difference in the points, look at the text of the reliefs that are being sought. If they are the same in wording and they are the same in presentation, we can be making the same point but presented differently, and that will make a difference. And that's what I'm cautioning you, that it cannot be that you lump two different situations and say they're the same. They cannot be.
Okay.
No two words are ever the same. If they are the same, why would we call them different or synonyms?
Okay. Stay with me. We're lucky to have a law lecturer.
I cannot stay with you. I think that the important point is that we have our interlocutory injunction dismissed.
Okay.
It doesn't dismiss our case. We will continue to pursue the case to the best conclusion that we can.
But why would you not stay with me though? Because you're seeking. Why would you not stay with me though? Because you're seeking this relief as a citizen.
Because I'm doing other things. You held me on the line for nearly 5 minutes.
Okay.
And I didn't understand it to mean that I was coming to join a debate.
It's not a debate. We just want clarity. Otherwise,
you want clarity on what?
So you went for an interlocutory injunction pending a substantive one.
Listen, please. We filed the suit, and pendency of the suit, we wanted the committee, which would be directed by the actions of our suit, to be, injuncted. And the Supreme Court says no. Let's go on with your suit, whilst the committee is also doing its work. What is there to argue about?
I'm not sure we're arguing. We're just learning this morning. But if you don't have time, thank you for joining us this morning.
Okay, we are done here. Thank you very much. Take care.
All right. So, Mr. Kwashiga, so we're just trying to get some education because I'm not sure, from a lawyer, if a person's reliefs on the paper really, the wording is different, but the outcome in court is the same. What's the difference? I want some education here.
Well, so MFA, what we do and what lawyers do in court is to deal with legal principles. Okay, we don't take words and match them to other reliefs to see if the words are the same. Obviously, it will never be the same. What you have to note is that some of these reliefs are intended to achieve the same result, and that is how you look at principles. You don't take the words individually and want to see that they are the same as other. That's not how law looks at principles. It's about general principles. What you are seeking, for instance, as a relief, right? If that relief is granted, okay, would it be similar, or would the outcome be similar to other reliefs, right, which would have been granted by a court with similar outcome? Basically, that is what it is. So it's not an issue to say that the words are different and all that. The substance is what we look at usually when we are dealing with legal principles.
Many have talked about the optics as well, that the former Attorney General is the one representing the suspended Chief Justice. He also argues that, well, the petitioners are also being represented by lawyers whom he perceives are quite very associated to the NDC. What is the difference then? A person would hire somebody they think can really argue their matter in court for them, or who can give them results. Doesn't matter the optics at all?
Well, I've heard those arguments, but I honestly don't think that it should be a big issue. And I don't think that because of the lawyers involved, the issue should be determined or should be described as becoming political. I do not think that the issue has become political at all. I mean, if you look at the Constitution, you have a right to a lawyer of your choice. And usually you go for the ones you think can do a good job for you, or those who appreciate where you are coming from. And so if the petitioner decides to go for a lawyer who is perceived to, or belongs to a certain political party, and the petitioners decide to go for lawyers who probably are perceived to belong to some political parties, I mean, so be it, but I do not think that it politicizes the issue in any way. We look at a lawyer like Tadio Sori. I mean, we know that Tadio Sori, for instance, is one of the best lawyers in the country. I was trained by Tadio Sori, and so I know his work. And so if I had a case, I'll look for, the one I know can do it well. So we shouldn't look at it from that perspective. It's not an issue at all, because clients or people have the right to go for lawyers of their choice, as long as they believe they can do a good job for them. So for me, that's not an issue.
Beyond the choice of lawyers, the commentaries on these legal debates in the public domain, do you think that has been politicized very much? And what does it really amount? What does it do to the judiciary currently?
Well, MFA, what's going on? If you look at it from a certain level, you may think that the issues have become politicized. And I have to admit over here that given the parties involved, don't forget that the Chief Justice was the Chief Justice under the previous government. And she was actually appointed by the previous government. Now, that alone from the start creates an impression. It's an unfortunate impression which we should not encourage, that because a CJ was appointed by a particular government, that CJ is beholden to that government in respect of everything. But sometimes people come to that conclusion when they examine the conduct of the office holder in respect of the parties that are involved in an issue, right? So if you conduct yourself in a way so as to give the public the impression that you are aligned to one political party, then you have created your own problem. But I do not think that merely because a particular government has appointed a chief justice, I mean, it should be a basis to conclude that that particular person is aligned to that political party. But as I said, beyond the appointment, the conduct, for instance, can tell a lot to the public. We've had a number of chief justices who have performed the role in the past. Some were appointed by governments before them, and they continued in office under subsequent governments. And we haven't gotten here. But you have to ask yourself, what is so peculiar about this situation that we have had to come this far? And so beyond the appointment, the conduct of a particular chief justice or a particular office holder would lead the public to form the perception or form the view that this person is aligned. And it's a perception. One is formed, there's nothing you can do about it, but it's informed by the public. So basically, that's how I see it. But I just want to reiterate once more that if you look at what is going on, and as I've explained, that there are substantive issues, and the injunctions are based on those writs issued in the court, you can see that a number of injunctions have been dismissed already. The CJ suit comes with an injunction. What is the intent? The intent is to ensure that the process is not continued unless the issues raised have been dealt with.
Right.
But this is the constitutional process. If you look at Article 146, all the way, there are no timelines within which things are supposed to be done. And when there are no clear timelines, the position of the law is that you act within a reasonable time. You cannot be working on one thing in perpetuity. Litigation must come to an end.
Right.
They say that it's the interest of the Republic that litigation comes to an end. They say it in Latin, interest republica ut sit finis litium. Something must come to an end. We can't be litigating one issue forever. For public policy reasons, we can't do that.
In wrapping, so for us not to drag this matter, if you look at 146 so far, has the president in any way violated the process so far that will be warranting such injunctions in court that much? 5 so far.
Well, let me tell you, from Article 146, Clause 1, all the way to Clause 11, I have been following the process. And I can tell you, without any shred of doubt in my mind or equivocation, that I think that the president has even given more than he's required to give in the circumstances. Now, we have read Article 146 within the context of a number of cases. Cases like A.J. Chum versus Attorney General and Brett Akwete and Paul Utadere's case. We have read Article 146 in conjunction with those cases. And I'm telling you that, but for A.J. Chum and Paul Utadere's case under Article 146, it would have been a straightforward process without more, because the president is only required, when he receives the petition, in consultation with the Council of State, form a committee to investigate the matter. That is how it should have been. But the Chum and Co. have brought in extra layers, that there must be a prima facie determination, which the president did with the Council of State of about 30 or more people. MFR, we cannot, when the provisions are clear, let's give effect to the provisions, and let's not try to use all kinds of technicalities and all kinds of things to delay the process. We have to move on as a country, and we have to live by the Constitution and what the Constitution dictates. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We've been talking to lawyer Albert Koshiga. You'd find him at the UPSA Public Law Department. He's the head, and he's also a constitutional law lecturer. Now, moving on, it's day 3 of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. Whilst it continues its decongestion of the city, dozens of makeshift structures housing over 50 squatters were pulled down at Cycle Neoplan bus stop on day 2. Now, James Avaji was with the team and has a wrap.
Exercise took a new turn on the second day This time with police and national security operatives. The officers demolished dozens of makeshift structures erected behind this bus stop here, opposite the new planned police station.
But you see electric wires on the floor, which indicates that there is full life happening here. I just see a board there, an electric board there, with a main switch, which I'm sure had been disconnected, and that is the source of power they use to power the fridges and other accessories here in order to help them undertake their work.
When we came, we tried to get access to the meter. So we took all the power off from the meter. They have a central meter. The meter is with us, AMA. It's in the office. We're going to use the meter to interrogate, to investigate, to find out whose name is on that meter. And that will be where we arrest whoever owns the meter and who is paying the electricity bills to.
Sub-Metro Director of Okaikwe South, Mercy Odoe, reveals that the operation was based on intelligence they picked up about drug and other illicit activities happening at the place.
Well, we'll take you live again to Circle, where the AMA boss is addressing the media. We'll also bring you what's the latest update today.
Station. But you say, you were pro to and you were in a yard and so the house in I am. Yard in my patrol. I'm a yard in my quine. You run industrial area and also many years. Brought up about 15 good years now. How that I mean now? The other boss. We are me penny pa. Me the other one is say, Membu. Me says a membu. When you tell me pacho. Why? Aha. See me. Ahanum. Send me parking. And yet, someone you want to shame. Oh, my quaning them. But I have some mamma. Somebody my pack no baby. I don't need pants to know about. My mama will never see Monday. My home society be our make you money free. Why? Me pacho. Why? Me kasa me no kasa wanye me girigiri ya nyame nhyira ene djuma ye de ama wo so no kosonya ye we djuma ne fine ma ye empam obi abato so bi anhyehye mu no obi apene ne mo aduane nyame nhyira nyame nhyira nyame nhyira nyame de betumi amaka ache me penny no okay.
And so MFA, if you own, that is an interaction between the mayor and the drivers here. We are currently at the Circle VIP, main VIP station, where a number of taxis have been parked at the edge of the road where they are loading. Looks like this is their permanent place. And so he is directing them to move to the main station itself. You hear the man he was interacting with. He is the leader of the drivers here, and he's been asking them how long they've been here. The man indicated that they've been here for 15 good years. He said for the decongestion purposes, they need to move their parking or their loading point from here to the main station. The man cited, the driver cited the fact that there are no spaces in the station, for which reason they have decided to be loading on the edge of the road. And so that's the bit of reaction that has happened so far. I'll be giving you a rundown to what has been happening since morning prior to the arrival of the mayor briefly. But there's still some interaction between him and his deputies. He's now leaving us now. But briefly, this morning we arrived here at Circle about 8 a.m. To check on what the situation is as far as the decongestion exercise is concerned. You know that yesterday there was a massive decongestion at the Circle New Plant bus stop right opposite the Circle New Plant police station. When we got back here, we saw that a number of the squatters had brought back their wares to the place. And that was the story we broke in the morning. Minutes after that, the officials, AMA officials who were at the Circle interchange, galvanizing themselves, putting themselves together to move, arrived at the place and confiscated the items of these squatters and seized them, packed them into a truck and drove them away, where they said they will not return them to the squatters. The place has been cleaned now, and it is back to its normal state. Mommy, just briefly, the mayor has been here and has had some interaction. What are the directives he's given to you?
The directives are that, like I was saying, we are not here to take everybody out. Every time what we say is that AMA, we are wicked. We are taking people's livelihood out of them. No, it is not so. Look around. The whole place is congested with vehicles. What he's directing us to do is that we should move them inside so that the pavement will be cleared. The pavement will be free for people to be treading, for people to be moving, so that you also have a feel of the place, you see.
We've started from the Circle interchange all the way to the bus stop. You have cleared the place again. Where are we moving to? What's the rest of the itinerary looking like?
Okay, we are moving to Kaneshi, the overhead bridge. We'll climb up and see whether those traders we moved away from the bridge have resurfaced, so that we'll also do justice over there. We are not to forcibly harass anybody, but what the mayor directed was that we should have a dialogue with them. We should let them understand what it is about. Their lives are even in danger. Sometimes, even when you are on top of the overhead, you are walking, you can feel it shaking. How much more you loading the bridge with all kinds of items for trading activities? These are things we want to avoid. We don't want any disaster in our nation again. All that we are praying for is the goodwill from God to bless our nation, so that everything that will come will be fruitful for everybody to enjoy. This is the Ghana we are praying to see. And this is the quota we as AMA, in the name of Okankwe South Metro, are doing. This is our widow's mind. This is our contribution to AMA and the entire nation as a whole. So like I always say, you media are also helping us with your job. I will also encourage you to take it up. You are doing a very, very great job. Thanks to you, and continue being there for us who have the objective we are all looking for. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that's a sub-metro director for Kaikwe South, Mercy Odoe there, giving us an update on what to expect. And so, MFA, that is what it is. We'll be moving all the way to Kaneshi to know whether. And so I get the impression that today is a routine checkup. It started on Tuesday. You remember Tuesday we did the Accra Central Business District, and we moved to Circle here all the way to Kaneshi. And so the routine check is ongoing. Places where the squatters have returned temporarily, they have cleared those. We'll see what happens at the other places in the course of the day. And so that's what has been happening here. Just to confirm for you, with the incident we experienced at the New Plant bus stop, we've got a confirmation that 3 permanent security officials or officers will be stationed there to prevent the squatters from coming back. And so that's the latest development on that. They will be taking care of the Circle enclave, all the bus stops and the pavement that have been cleared. Those 3 security officers will be stationed around the Circle enclave to make sure that there is law and order, so the squatters do not return back to occupy the places. However, that's what we have for you for now, if there are no questions.
No questions so far. I'm sure we'll meet at 12 at midday. You bring us updates as to how Kaneshi as well went. James Aveji there, following the decongestion exercise by the AMA in Accra. We'll be bringing you updates if you stay with us. Away from that, authorities have started pruning weak and overgrown branches along the Atomic Kwabenya Road, with several mahogany and other fragile trees marked for removal. The exercise follows growing concerns over the condition of some of the trees, which have become weak and pose a danger to motorists. Some of the overgrown branches have become entangled with power lines, further heightening safety risk. However, the decision to remove some of them has drawn sharp criticisms from environmental groups such as Arocha Ghana, who has strongly condemned the move, describing it as environmental sabotage and shameful. They say the felling of trees along the Atomic Hatcho stretch must cease immediately, with a clear enforceable plan for replanting provided. Maxwell Agbawa has more.
The usual traffic here at the Atomic First Gate and the Kabina Pollution Station stretch is conspicuously missing. What is, however, striking here is the many mahogany and other trees that have formed a canopy on the stretch.
Some of the mahogany trees lining this road are over 60 years old. But this isn't the first time their survival has been under threat. Now they are at risk again. I've met Reverend Joseph Adika. He loves trees and describes himself as an environmentalist.
We need to be educated about the value of trees. And if that education is not there, people will disregard the essence of trees, you understand. In Ghana today, I don't think that a lot of people value trees.
Executive Secretary for the Voluntary Work Camps Association of Ghana, Zachariah Mwinson, says cutting down the trees undermines Ghana's efforts in fighting climate change.
This is causing a threat to the community, especially with regards to the agenda on climate change. So cutting down the trees is not an alternative.
At the office of an environmental advocacy group, Arocha Ghana, Executive Director Darryl Bosu called the plant felling an environmental sabotage and shameful.
There are trees by the roadside, they look beautiful, they provide a significant benefit, they clean the air, they cool the environment. Once you drive through that area, you can be driving in from the hot sun. Once you get under those trees, you can feel the difference in the coolness of the air. So we are really happy that those trees are there. We have assessed the stretch of that particular area where the trees are. And what we have noticed is that there are no drainages along that particular stretch of road. So when it rains, water collects under the root system, making the trees unstable, and that's why every little wind comes and you see a tree falling.
Let's plant 5 million trees today.
In 2022, the previous government allocated 6 million cedis to the Green Ghana Tree Planting Initiative. In 2023, that figure dropped to 2.5 million. That is a little over $500,000 for the 2 years of tree planting. Environmentalists say cutting mature trees now defeats the very purpose of such programs. But the Forestry Commission says it is not a blanket approval to cut trees. Manager, Corporate Affairs and Media Relations of the Forestry Commission says the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission has been instructed to replace any trees they remove.
They were given the permission to remove 8 mahogany trees, 6 leucaena trees, and prune 43 mahogany trees. For some of the trees, the ones that are going to be removed, you can see that they are literally dead. Even though they are standing there, it is dead. So it needs to be removed. We made it explicitly clear that they have to replace all the trees that they are removing.
You're watching NewsDeck. Stay with me. When we return, I shall tell you about how ECG maintenance is going to be happening in the Ashanti West unit, about some preventive maintenance. You want to stay with me? Welcome back and thank you for staying. So the Ashanti West unit of the Electricity Company of Ghana is starting a 100-day preventive maintenance work on power distribution lines in the region as the rainy season sets in. The 3-month maintenance exercise is part of efforts by the power distribution company to ensure sustained power supply to homes and businesses even during rainstorms. The company is also mounting a clampdown on persons, especially scrap dealers, who steal electricity installations, which consequently affect energy supply to the region. There's more in this report.
Vandalism and stealing of ECG installations, including transformers, cables and protective equipment, have been on the rise in the Ashanti region, with a recent theft case resulting in the death of one at the Adwato substation. These stolen items are reported to usually end up as scraps purchased by some artisans at the Swami Industrial Enclave. The ECG, on the public sensitization mission, engaged artisans of the Ghana National Association of Garages at the country's largest auto mechanic village. The exercise is part of frantic efforts by the ECG to clamp down on the illegal activities. Manager for the Ashanti West region of the ECG, Engineer George Amwa, highlighted the negative impacts of the illicit activity on the operations of the power distributor.
We don't want to run it alone as a company. We need money. Okay, for this company to ensure that everything goes on well. We buy transformers, we buy poles, we buy conductors, almost everything that we use, we buy. And it is the same money that we get that we do. So if you steal, it means we are not going to get it. Because when they continue to steal, it's affecting us as a company, it's affecting us as a nation. Okay.
Ashanti Regional Chairperson of the Ghana National Association of Garages, Alhaji Lukman Nuhu Apiedu, hinted at the challenges in fighting the thievery. The scrap dealers begin to attack those of us who find out they are selling illegal items like the ECG installations. This is preventing a lot of people from reporting cases of thievery like these. As the rainy season sets in, some exposed parts of the vandalized installations pose danger and imminent power fluctuations in the region. To ensure sustained supply of power, the ECG is embarking on preventive maintenance works on all critical installations in the region. Engineer Amwa again.
We've even gotten the message that we are going to carry out 100 days maintenance work. You know, when it rains, the challenges that we face as a company. One, we have instructed all our district office maintenance staff that is we doing line inspections.
Well, Emmanuel Barikwe will bring us that report from the Ashanti region. Now, let's get on Zoom and engage Benjamin Owusu Entry, PRO ECG, Ashanti West Unit. Thank you for joining us this morning. First, though, during this 100 days, will consumers still have power?
Thank you very much, and a very good morning to your cherished viewers. During this 100 days maintenance, in areas whereby we would have to curtail power supply to enable us to undertake these maintenance activities, the PRC, in fact, enjoys us to issue a 3-day notice in such instances. So definitely, whereby we will need to curtail power supply to work on some of our high voltage lines, definitely we'll inform our cherished customers 3 days ahead of time to enable them plan their activities. But not all maintenance cases will there be outage, but in instances where we require an outage for safety reasons, we will definitely communicate to our cherished customers.
So for this 100 days preventive maintenance, which you're going to be telling us exactly what preventive maintenance is when you're answering the question, will it be a bulk preventive maintenance, or you're going to be going places by places, community by community?
Thank you very much. When we say preventive maintenance, it means that we would have to undertake the maintenance activity to prevent the outage from occurring, in order to reduce our fault level. So once we embark on preventive maintenance, you realize that our fault level will reduce, the outages will also reduce, and our cherished customers can enjoy stable power supply. So when we say preventive maintenance, this is what it means. But the details of what we'll be doing include that we will not be doing it, maybe let's say bulk, but like we said, we are doing it across all our district levels, because there are some areas that we're working on the LV network, that's the low voltage networks. In some areas, we're working on the sub-transmission network. In some areas, we're working on the distribution lines, that's the feeders as well. So it's case by case basis. For example, there are areas whereby we've identified SAC conductors, whereby you realize the conductors on the high tension poles are very low, that the clearance between that and even individuals are not that much. So definitely will require an outage to use the draw vice to draw the line, to string the line, to tension the line. We'll do a retention as well to make sure the line is stable. We know when the conductors are sacked like that and then there is any heavy windstorm, you see the lines clashing against each other. That normally results in an outage as well. There are areas where we've identified that some of the feeders going there are quite overloaded. For example, when you look at areas like the Ochi, Bofuedu, and Palmi, those enclaves, we have about 3 distribution lines serving that area, but the rate at which the area is developing is very high that if we are not careful, the 3 distribution lines might not meet that demand. So as part of efforts, we are constructing a new line over there to ensure that we relieve the load. So once that happens, you realize that when the rains set in, any wind that comes, the lines will be able to withstand it because we've been able to relieve that existing feeder as well. So definitely we are constructing a new line that we hope to complete by June as well. Areas like Sepase in Caviar, that enclave also, that same challenge is there as well. Then we also have areas whereby the trees are closer to our network. So anytime it rains, it interferes with our network. And whenever there is any wind, the leaves tends out to interfere on our network. We're very happy when the Atomic Commission, in fact, engaged us. And I think yesterday they started a clearing in Accra. I think your team was there to cover that exercise as well. We'll be doing the same in Ashanti region. So areas whereby we have trees interfering in our network, be it bamboo, be it coconut, be it neem tree, we'll be cutting that tree. That's what we call vegetation control, because once those elements get into the network, it contributes to the outage. Also, we have what we call falling distance as well. We realize that sometimes the trees fall on our network and then our cables lie on the ground. Conductors are cut as well on the ground. Even the poles end up falling on the ground. So we want to prevent that thing. So areas where we have rotting poles or poles that are not firmly fit on the ground, we'll try to replace those poles as part of our maintenance activities.
Top of your mind, when you're going to take the power, though you would inform consumers or customers ahead of time, would it be the whole day? Will it be for a number of hours? And what's the maximum number of hours it'll take in a day?
Thank you very much. For normally planned maintenance, it's case by case basis.
Okay.
The number of hours that you spend to do vegetation control might not be the same hours that you spend to replace a rotting pole.
Okay.
The number of hours you spend to inject a new transformer might not be the same number of hours to restring or retention a conductor as well. So most of it can sometimes be 4 hours, sometimes 5 hours. But the most important thing is we have the obligation to inform our customers before we put off the power for this planned maintenance activities.
What measures are you putting in place to prevent the installations, the Electricity Company of Ghana's installations that you have reported that there have been theft cases? What measures are you putting in place?
Thank you. We realized that some of the substations that have experienced these attacks were even fenced, and somehow they were able to break the gates, even sometimes even damage the wall. Even someone even had to scale over the wall to do that. So what we are doing is
sorry, did I lose?
Okay. We are changing how we are fencing this substation. So when we change it, I cannot put the design out for security because probably these people might be watching us, then they will adjust the activities, but we'll change how we fence our substations. Also, we are engaging areas that we feel that these scraps end up at. That is why yesterday we did that important engagement with the Swan Magazine artisans. We hope to meet national security very soon because some of these CCTV cameras installed on our poles and even traffic lights, some of them even capture our transformers and other assets. So engage them to assist us with the footages of these activities as well. Then we intend to engage the Ashanti Regional Police Command very soon as well, because this is a security issue. Though whenever we experience these vandalized activities, we inform the police. We want to make it official that we need their help. So as part of their community police activities, they try to, police our substations for us as well.
Okay, we'll go to Obuasi shortly, especially because of what has happened and you announcing that you had to cut power. Before we go there, what are you doing to protect persons who are complaining that when they blow the whistle, they get some sort of attacks? You put in any measures in place for people to feel comfortable to report such theft cases?
Thank you very much. What we want to assure the general public is that not just even the vandalized activity, but even in illegal connection, we humbly appeal to the general public to assist us. What we'll do is that we'll never give out the name of the whistleblower to the general public. Our staff are quite professional to do that. That is why when you look at our core values, the P stands for professionalism. We will never, reveal the identity of whoever that gives us the information. And even for illegal connection, there's even an incentive, 6% commission for the whistleblower as well. So we humbly appeal to the general public to take advantage of this activity. They should rest assured that ECG as a company will never disclose their identity to the general public.
Right. Again, so management of the Ghana Grid Company, of course, and Electricity Company of Ghana, you're saying that you're working to quickly restore power to Obuasi and its environs after fire gutted one of the substations and its enclave. This happened yesterday around 9 p.m. The fire outbreak you've also reported from the Obuasi substation has resulted to cutting of power supply. What's the situation today?
Yep. As we speak, the customers are still off. The incident occurred last night at about 9:12 p.m. At the Gridco box supply point. And the box supply point is very significant in our operations because that is where ECG normally meets Gridco to take power supply from and then distribute to our church customers via our feeders, our distribution lines, and then sometimes the sub-transmission lines as well. So once the box supply point is affected, customers in our near the Biase district and Obuasi district will be affected because that is where they take power supply from. So what we know now is that the fire supply gutted some equipment at the Gridco end of the BSP. And once the Gridco end is shut down, there is no way power can flow through the ECG end for onward distribution. As we speak, the Gridco engineers are on site assessing the extent of damage before they see what they can salvage to restore power supply to enable ECG also distribute power. Our sub-transmission team is also on site together with the Ashanti South maintenance team as well. So all the engineers responsible for restoring power supply are on site as we speak. But we would want to apologize to our cherished customers that it's as a result of this fire outbreak, not any deliberate acts, but engineers are working assiduously to ensure power supply.
Is it normal? Is it very normal that such fire outbreak would be? And did the fire service play any role at all? Have you determined cause of fire at all?
As we speak, from our engagement with Gridco, they use the Anglo Good fire service people over there to douse the fire last night. We are yet to conduct preliminary investigations to reveal the cause of fire because right now our focus is rectifying the problem to restore power supply to our church customers because we know livelihoods are affected as a result of this activity. You know, there are hospitals in the English, schools as well, businesses as well. So we want to move in quickly to restore power supply.
Thank you for joining me this morning, Benjamin Owusu Entry. He is PRO ECG Ashanti West Unit. Thank you for joining us. And you as well, thank you for staying with me all through this hour on News Desk. I shall see you at 12 for more news. You want to stay with me, but still visit www.majoyonline.com for more news. My name is Emefa Akosiadeti. Thank you for watching.